we got John here, but I'll let you introduce yourself.
My name is John Quinones.
So that's how you pronounce your last name?
Yeah.
Okay.
How is it?
Quinones.
Quinones.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm V, and that's Ron.
Yes, we met. We've been talking.
We have.
Yeah, but I haven't heard any of the, the story yet. But we've just been getting to know each other.
Wanted to hold that off until we got everything rolling.
And yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us. Absolutely. This is our second episode. So we definitely wanted to start off with the most knowledgeable people in the field. We started off with Dr. Albert in our previous episode, and we wanted to transition on to people who have been through things and can share what they've been through, enlighten our audience about what it means to be in recovery, what it means to go through some crazy stuff, which I know you've been through. And I think overall sharing our experiences will allow others to learn from those and, grow as individuals and see patterns that they might be blind to. So, let's get started. Let's jump into it. Tell us about your story. What was your first experience with, drugs and alcohol?
You want me to start from my first experience?
Yeah.
Yes. Well, start where you feel comfortable starting. Maybe that drugs and alcohol wasn't what led to drugs and alcohol. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm probably going to go back a little bit before that, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
So my mom left home when she was 14. And the reason that she left home was my grandfather. He was a Marine. He had rode bulls. He had boxed. And he drank. And when he drank, he wasn't always the nicest person. And so my mom ran away when she was 14. This is in Sacramento. And technically Citrus Heights, a suburb in Sacramento, but in Sacramento. So when my mom left at 14, she started hitchhiking. And she met my dad in Texas. My dad was a little bit older. By the time my mom met my dad, he'd already been using heroin for years.
And what year was this?
This would be like 76.
70s. Okay.
Yeah, 76. So when my mom meets my dad, they end up together. And not long after meeting my dad, my mom starts using heroin. She gets pregnant with me.
And how old was she when this was happening?
She was 15 when I was born.
Okay.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And using.
Yeah. And so the first 2 years of my life, my mom and dad were using. My dad was a criminal. And I think the first 2 years of my life, I traveled a lot with them. They went all over the country. And then when I was 2, my dad went to a telephone booth. I know those are kind of anachronisms.
Yeah.
They don't exist anymore, but there used to be these little rectangles that people made phone calls in. But my understanding is my dad went to rob this guy in a phone booth, and the gun went off, and he ended up shooting him. He went to a prison in Texas called Huntsville. And when my dad went to prison, my mom was young and had a habit and didn't have any way to provide for her habit or me. And so my mom turned to the one thing that she could make money doing. And so when she got into being a sex worker, between the ages of 2 and 4, it was just me and my mom. And there was a lot of stuff that happened during that time. When I was 4, my mom went to write a bad check in Bakersfield. And they went to arrest her, and probably my first real memory, because a lot of the things before 4 are kind of like secondhand feelings less than memories. But I can tell you when I was 4 and they were arresting my mom in Bakersfield, I can remember standing on the back seat, and I was in this cop car and I was looking out through the rear window, and my mom was crying and they were handcuffing her, and I could just remember screaming and crying and like snot coming out of my nose. And even though my mom couldn't really provide for me or take care of me, she was the only person that had been there my whole life. And so in that moment, I just remember hating those cops. They put me in a children's receiving home. They called my grandparents, and my grandparents came and got custody of me. And so from 4 to 9, living with my grandparents, it was this weird dichotomy, because on one hand there was my nana, and she taught me everything. When people say like they like me or they like something about me, I will tell them like that's my nana, because she was the epitome of unconditional love. I remember standing in the kitchen and holding on to her dress while she would make dinner and asking Jesus into my heart and just feeling safe and loved. But every day around 3:50, when I would hear the car pull in the driveway, the gravel, going in my room and hiding, because on the other side there was this person coming home that was not safe.
You're talking about
My grandfather.
your grandfather. Okay. So
Yeah, but there's a generation that may or may not be gone now, but the generation my nana came from, like when you married somebody, that was it.
that was
Yeah.
it.
They were married 47 years.
That's right.
And
You
how
know?
was their relationship like?
Well, it was interesting because my grandfather would put hands on my mom when she was there, my uncle when he was there, me, never touched her. In fact, when he would be drunk and he would be doing his thing, if she came out of the bedroom, because she had migraine headaches, she spent a lot of time in the bedroom in the dark, just suffering. But if she came out and got in between, it was over. It was over.
Would you say she had some kind of supernatural presence to her?
In hindsight, I see or have learned more about my grandfather's upbringing and his perspective on kids. They're meant to be seen, not heard. You're not allowed to get mad. You're not allowed to get sad. You're definitely not allowed to talk back. You're not allowed to do any of those things. The way he viewed children, that was his wife. He viewed her differently.
Okay.
But-
I don't mean to interrupt. What do you mean by supernatural influence? I got lost.
Presence. You know, like there's some people who have like a divine connection, you know.
in protecting him.
Yeah, because he mentioned, you know, Jesus, so I wanted to kind of touch upon that.
Oh, I see.
You know, if she was religious or, you know.
Yeah. So my family's kind of divided in half. There's kind of like an outlaw side, and then there's definitely like a Southern Christian side. And my Nana's side of the family, definitely devout Christian
From the South.
from the South. And she did have, and she still does, have a very different presence with me. I can't attribute where it comes from, but she's always been the same person, no matter what. That consistency of character's been something that I look for in others because she's been the pillar of it. But between the ages of 4 and 9, I would get letters. And I would get letters from my dad, and he was in prison. My mom would be in and out of jail. And I would get these letters, and they would say, Johnny, I'm going to get out. And when I get out, I'm going to come get you. I'm going to get clean. I'm going to get into an apartment. And then time would pass. And then there'd be another letter. I'm back in jail, but I'm going to get out. And the repetition of that message and the lie got to the point where if I went out and there were 2 letters, I wouldn't even open the letter from my mom. I would just read the one from my dad. my dad would tell me, you know, I'm taking John Deere tractor classes, and he never said anything. There were no promises, no empty promises. And there were times when my mom would show up, and she would come and visit me for an hour or two, and she would bring me gifts, and she'd smell like perfume, and she'd have all this makeup on and fur coats. And even as a kid, before I even knew what drugs were, I knew what it looked like when somebody was on them. And I really grew up with this message of, in the 80s, drugs, the whole campaign of just say no. And all the commercials showing you that drugs are the worst thing in the world. But the message I was getting from my parents, directly and indirectly, was that I was worth less than that. They had chose drugs over me, which made me feel worthless. But I just kept waiting for my mom to come and get me until 1986. I was 9 years old. My sister was 2. My mom had my little sister with someone else. We have different dads. And she was 2 and I was 9. There was a knock on the door around Christmas of 1986. And I opened the door, and there was these 2 guys, and they got on brown corduroy jackets with the arm patches. And they tell my grandparents for me and my sister to go in the other room. So I take my sister in the other room, but I leave the door open so I can hear. And I hear these 2 guys tell my grandparents that they found my mother's body.
Jesus.
Sorry to hear that. Rest her soul.
She had been raped and murdered, and they had found her body at Lake Berryessa, which is a lake up north. And I know the script is I was supposed to feel sad. My mom's gone. But I can tell you wholeheartedly that was the day hatred was born into my life. Because when my mom died, I knew there's no one coming to get me. And I'm trapped here now. And 9 is when I went from being like the little normal kid. You know, they had me in these special classes where 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, I was in the GATE program. And my grandfather was telling me, you're going to be the first one to graduate college in this family. And the first time I ran away because I got a B. After my mom died, I got a B. And I wasn't allowed to get a B. I had to get straight A's. My family couldn't afford to send me to college. I had to get a scholarship. In elementary school, I'm already being told that I'm going to be this person. I'm going to do this thing, and I don't want to go to college. But I run away, and I end up hiding in the bushes across the street because I'm not very good at running away. And when the cops look over and they see me, and I remember telling this female cop, "Don't leave me here. He's going to hit me when you leave." And this cop saying, "You just got to take what you got coming." And watching this cop, watch her get in the car and drive away. And then just thinking, this cop's not going to save me. I'm going to school, face being messed up. School's not going to save me. Mom's not coming to save me. So between 9 and 11, I started wearing a leather jacket. I started listening to 9 Inch Nails and Guns N' Roses, and got a pair of Doc Martens, and everything I owned, all my clothes were black, and I started pushing people away. And there was just this deep hatred that no one was coming. And the rule in the family was, once you're old enough to hit my grandfather, you're old enough to leave. My uncle was 17, my mom was 14, and I was 11. The first time I hit him back, and I had seen it happen with my uncle. And so when I did it, there's this pause where, like, all right, if you want to go, you can go. And so I left. And so from 11 to 14, the first year I stayed with some relatives, couch surfed, but eventually I just ended up outside. I was living on the American River in Sacramento. I would still go to school. I had my stuff tucked up under Gady Bridge, where American River Drive, dead ends down there. And my family that lived in a nice area, I could use their address. So even though I was homeless, I went to a really, really good school. One of the kids that went to that school in this really expensive neighborhood, he would go onto the school grounds, Rio Americano High. The east boundary was the levee to the river. So he'd walk to school, cross the levee, and then I would cross him, and he would go up and fish and watch my stuff all day while I would go to school.
Oh, that's pretty
And then
cool.
at the end of the school, I'd pass him on the way back, and he would cross, and his parents thought he went to school all day.
You had a perfect thing
Yeah.
like that, didn't you?
Yeah, well, I don't know what his real name was, but we called him Puke, but I'll never forget Puke.
Puke.
Yeah, Puke was a good guy, you know?
Puke's always
And I took home ec, and I took photography, so I'd go to home ec. All the girls in the school knew I was homeless. The home ec teacher knew I was homeless, so we would just make food. I would load my backpack up. At night, sometimes the girls that lived on this street, they would sneak down there and they would bring me food, or I'd sneak in their house when their parents are gone and shower. But I had a good little thing set up.
Yeah.
And then when I was 14, my dad got out of prison. And I love my dad. I really do.
Now?
I always did. I always did. My dad's always been straight with me.
Uh-huh.
And one of the first things he told me when he got out, you know, it's like, I've been gone too long to be your dad. We will probably be more like brothers. And I wanted a parent so bad.
Yeah.
On any terms.
Yeah.
In my heart, I didn't want a brother.
No.
You know? I wanted a dad. He went to prison when I was 2.
12 years.
Yeah, I didn't even remember. And my dad, man, he's always tried. You know, he got into his addiction so early. He would get out of prison and he would always try to go straight. He'd get jobs, and he got a little apartment. And I went and lived with him. But my dad always had the stigma of no one's gonna look at me like a normal person. So we ended up with bad relationships, and he ended up with, you know, minimum wage jobs, and he always carried this stigma of the world's never going to see me for me. They're just going to see this convict. And so when he got out, he got into a bit of a depression. The girl he was with in the 90s, this was a relatively new thing in my neighborhood. Meth was exploding. And so she said, "Oh, you want to feel better? Try this." Well, my dad had been a heroin addict, a cocaine addict, but he'd never done meth.
Right.
And so we started doing meth. And
Let me ask you
Yeah.
something. Just
Sure.
You know, when you said your dad felt that nobody would look at him except as being a convict.
yeah.
Is that true? Was that true? Or was that in his,
No, that was his perspective.
did you sense that or no?
I always knew different, but I saw him from a different angle.
Oh, I see.
Because I would see the relationships he was with, and I would ask him, like, "Hey, what are you doing?"
Right.
And he, well, no, you know, regular girl would want to be with me. But my friends, their moms, different women, I would hear, and my dad is so charismatic and so funny. My dad could have been with anybody.
Right.
He didn't have all the
Right.
money. He didn't have all the looks. He didn't have all the cars or any of that stuff. But my dad is a real one.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's a real
I
one.
I hear you.
You know?
Yeah.
And he was so funny. There were times I would come home and my friends would be hanging out with my dad and they'd all be laughing. And then they'd see me and be like, "Oh, all right, we got to go." Because I'm this dark little brute. I got a blue mohawk and my flight jacket and all angry. And my dad's just a cool dude.
So
you
he
know?
just carried it with him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. To this day, if I called him right now, man, you give him a topic, he'll tell you the craziest story, the funniest story on anything. Because he's lived 1,000 lives,
yeah.
you know. But he started doing meth, and I was seeing this girl, and she ended up getting pregnant, And she decided she was going to have an abortion, and I was not all right with that. Not anti-abortion, just it's my understanding that my mom wasn't fully committed to having me. And so...
Mine either.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
But I just thought I would,
And
share that little moment.
Well, it's like in hindsight at 15, I get where she was coming
Edit
from.
that.
If I, if I set myself out of the equation and I just look at the situation, a 15-year-old being pregnant on heroin, saying this might not be the best idea,
No, yeah.
I get it.
I do, yeah.
Even if I'm
The
what,
one.
even if I'm the one.
Right, yeah.
So when the girl that I'm with decides that she's going to have an abortion, I feel complicit in this,
Right,
and I do it. I'm begging her, please don't.
right.
And in the process of that relationship and the pregnancy and the pending abortion, I told my dad. I said, "Hey, I'm messed up, man. I want to get some of that stuff."
Mm.
And I remember him hesitating, and I could kind of see the gears turning, and there was a conversation. Again, understanding the motive rather than get it from somebody on the street, getting it from him so that at least he knows
I see.
what it is.
Right.
He's already doing it. I know for people that haven't done drugs, it might sound insane.
But he was looking out after you.
In his way.
Right, I understand.
In his way.
Yeah.
This is the thing about my dad. The role of dad, he may not have been Hall of Fame, but the person that he is, fulfilling that role, I see the distinction between the two things.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean.
He was loving me the best way that he could.
Right.
Even if you're just looking at, a transcript of the situation, it looks bad.
Right.
You don't know the person.
Out of context.
Right.
Right. And the fact that you were probably going to do it anyway.
Oh.
It's kind of like sex.
Without a doubt.
With parents saying,
Yeah.
I'd rather have you do it at home, you know
Yeah.
what I mean, than go out and get someone pregnant. But I understand, yes.
Yeah.
But were you at that mindset where you were gonna do it regardless of if your dad approved it or not, or do you think in a way he kind of like opened that door up for you?
By the time I was at that age, 14, 15, somebody telling me no wouldn't have stopped it.
Probably
Probably
made it,
would have just
yeah.
been an accelerant, like gas on a fire, to where even if I had been on the fence, the moment you tell me no, because by the time I'm 14 and 15, I'm so anti-establishment, anti-cop, anti-authority that I don't have a thought process when someone tells me no. Now I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to do it more.
Right.
And do you think your dad understood that, and that's kind of the motive behind him introducing you to meth?
Yeah, I think he knew that I was going to do it anyway. It was way ahead of its time, but like Pops' version of harm reduction was, okay,
Right,
well,
harm reduction.
Because there was a guy, I mean, without going into it too much, in that neighborhood at that time that had been going around to apartment complexes and scraping the sulfuric acid off of battery terminals and then bagging it and selling it to people.
Whoa.
So they were getting people that were shooting sulfuric acid and dying.
Oh, God.
This is the first time I'm hearing that people were doing this.
Yeah, well, this is, when you've been up 3 or 4 days and you can't get anything,
You're ready.
and you
don't care.
And if you can just flip it to somebody and make something, then you can go get something. There is no,
yeah.
So, like in the 80s, everybody worried about there being razor blades in the candies. In the 90s, they were worried about there being sulfuric acid in the meth. So in a
my
weird
God,
way,
that's
Pops was trying to
crazy.
look out for me.
Right. I understand.
And I was going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, from the first time I did meth, within a relatively short amount of time, I went from having never done drugs, hating drugs, to insane. The first available abortion was on Valentine's Day. So I literally, before I even had a license, technically I never got a license until way later, but driving to a Planned Parenthood in like 91, 92, sitting in the car waiting for her to come out, and then taking her back, and then shooting meth, and then shooting meth, and then shooting meth, and then just getting it into my head that I helped kill a kid, and then getting it in my head that the only way to make it right is if I kill myself, because it's like I can pay for it. And going down to Big Ben's Burgers on El Paso Boulevard, where you can buy anything, and getting an old school straight razor and tucking it in my docks, and going home and then opening my wrist to where I still have 2 tendons that are permanently severed.
Yeah, I see the scar right there. Is that what it's from?
Yeah. Yeah, they couldn't reattach the tendons.
God, that must have been, it just, I can't imagine hit after hit, you know.
Well, I just felt like if I could get rid of me, then it would balance it out. And ending up in the emergency room
And this happened at home?
No, this happened. The girl that I was with, her mom was a property manager of her apartment. So she was 16 and she had a 2-story townhouse that her mom gave to her. So when I went to see her, we had a 2-story house. We were kids, but it happened there. And I was in the bathroom. And then after doing it, waiting to bleed out, I went to a coffee shop that I used to go to all of the time, and I used to walk the waitress there and then walk her home at 6 a.m. because it wasn't the best neighborhood. And she came over and she asked me, like, are you okay? And I guess I was losing color. And then when she saw it, and my best friend came and picked me up, and her dad drove me to the emergency room and ran through all these red lights. And when I got out, I was supposed to be on a 72-hour psych hold. As soon as I saw the psych, I talked to him for 15 minutes, and I walked out.
What did you say to him?
What did I say to him? By that point in my life, I was already a master manipulator, really good at lying. I'd created this name that I used to go by. I'm a little guy now, but when I was that age, I was very small. So one of the things I had learned early on in life is if you're not a big guy, you can create a big guy. And I created this whole persona, this name that I went by, and all of these things, because I wanted men to fear me and I wanted women to want me. Because like as a codependent, the more girls I could get to say that they loved me, the better. And the more guys I could get to fear me, the safer I was.
Right.
So I was trying to throw love in this hole and then trying to stay safe all the time. And the truth was I couldn't fight. I wasn't tough. I was nobody. But I learned very early on this little thing in my head worked all right. I had a decent mouthpiece on me. So I got really good at talking, whether it meant creating fear or attraction or whatever it was. But I got to where that, like, if I saw a psych, before he comes in the room, getting an idea of what does he want to hear, and then how to phrase it so that he doesn't think I'm saying what he wants to hear, and walking up.
Wow.
Yeah, when that situation happened, the next couple of months, I know I ate, I know I slept, I just don't remember. But it was just meth, to where the psychosis would get so crazy, like in another world, like literally insane.
Isn't that the worst?
As a teenager, just so disconnected. like almost in this alternate spiritual world where it. And the thing is, I was already dark in my heart, so I felt at home in that place. I didn't want to leave that place. That place made sense to me.
And were you going to school at this time?
No, once meth came, school was out the window.
You just stopped going to school?
Yeah.
What about did the girl stick with you, or was she?
Well, the girl ended up going to Hawaii.
Okay.
And in the process of that happening, it's kind of the beginning of a cycle that happens. It sets the first cycle of something that repeats, where the next girl I was with, she didn't love me, she didn't know me, she just knew this reputation. And the first time we were together, she got pregnant.
Again?
And a different girl.
Oh, okay.
And when she got pregnant, I remember her being scared when she said, "Hey, I got to tell you something, but I don't want you to freak out." And I said, "Okay." She said, "I'm pregnant." And I said, "Okay, well, what do you want to do?" And she said, "I want to keep it." And I remember just crying.
Oh my God.
Just thinking,
wow.
Oh, she thought I would want her to get rid of it. She didn't know what had just happened.
Right. The whole story and everything.
And that is the mother of my oldest child.
Okay.
And so that was the beginning of this pattern where she got pregnant. I didn't know how to be a husband. I didn't know how to be a father. I quit using meth.
How'd you do that?
I stopped.
You just stopped?
I just stopped.
What about the withdrawals and all that stuff?
Doesn't matter.
You know,
You just
when
doesn't matter.
When you said that place when you were doing meth, that was like a place that you were used to
Yeah.
living, right?
Yeah.
So now, meth isn't just a drug; it's actually a world in a sense for
Yeah.
you, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
So that must have been tough to, or maybe it wasn't. Was it hard to give up that world, and you were just?
No, because there was a meaning and a purpose for the first time.
I see.
This
Okay.
idea, I mean, in hindsight, I see what I was doing, even though I didn't know it at the time.
Right.
Like, here is a chance for me to take care of a kid,
Right.
do it right. This idea of like, we're not supposed to resolve our childhood through our children, but I'm 16. That's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a good dad. I'm going to be a good dad.
You rarely hear a change like that. I mean, you rarely do. I mean, that says something. Well, personally, I think that says something about your character. Maybe it was your dad's influence. I don't know. But for someone to turn around and make it all about somebody else while they're in the throes of addiction is very rare.
Yeah. So I get a job, get a car, get a place. By the time I'm 19, I'm an old man. I'm ready to retire. I can remember when we bought a used washer and dryer, and I thought, this is it. I'm done. I've made it in life.
And were you staying with your the mother of your child at this time?
Yeah. So
You guys were together.
her and I get married. We get married because at one point I'm going to go into the military. That's a longer story. We won't. It was a year-long process, and but when I finally, after I'd taken the ASVAB test, passed the physical, and all of this stuff, and the guy goes, "Okay, well, you got two options. You can sign over the parental rights because we weren't married at the time to the biological mother, or you guys can get married." I'm not signing over nothing. Mm-hmm. So the marriage wasn't a "I love you so much,
Right.
let's make this forever." It's I'm not signing over my rights. We're getting married. Get in the car. We're going to the courthouse.
Right.
And I say it that way because I wasn't a good husband. I didn't know how to be a good husband. Mm-hmm. There had been no. Well, I don't want to cop out and say that there was no role model, but I didn't know how to be a dad.
And where was your dad at this time?
He was in the old neighborhood. He's going to work, got a cool job for him, a job that he loves. My dad's always great, man. You know, on the weekends, he would try to do car detailing or palm tree trimming or little ways. He was just trying. Mm-hmm. He was always trying. 21, 3-bedroom duplex with a garage, a front and a backyard. I'm working construction. I'm making $8.50 an hour. Minimum wage is $4.25. I'm on top of the world.
And back then you could get a house at that age.
Yeah. I think we were paying $750 a month for rent, and I was like kind of cocky about I was paying more rent than anybody I knew because I could afford it.
Just living the life.
21. I got legal custody of my sister, so she's in one room.
Right.
My daughter's the mother of my daughter. She's got a cousin that's coming from a bad house. Don't trip. You can come stay with us. She's staying there.
So things are going pretty.
Things are going pretty good.
Basically, from what you told us from the first part of the story, it sounded like it was just. I can't even imagine what you must have been going through. And now there's this flip where you are,
I'm an old man.
Well, you're an old man, but you're taking care of yourself. You're working.
Yep.
You're, everything's going good. And you stopped meth.
And I stopped meth, and now I work construction, where everybody is using meth.
That's right.
Except for me and a couple of the other guys. We don't use meth, but I will tell you how my routine goes. When I wake up, I reach over, and there's a beer right here. Uh-huh. And I drink that beer on the way to the fridge, where I grab the beer, and I drink that on the way to the car. Okay. And when I get in the car and I open the middle console, there's 2 beers there that I drink on the way to the AM PM, where I get 2 18-packs to drink, one at work, and then the other one for when I come home. When I get out of the car, I put 2 in the middle console. I put 1 in the fridge. I put the 18-pack down next to me, so then when I go to sleep, I got 1 next to me. Wow. Repeat when I wake up. I'm never arm's distance
you are very
away from
organized.
Alcohol. Well, I'm an alcoholic.
Yes.
And I'm cocky about it because I'm not doing meth.
Just alcohol.
When I go to work, the lathers are doing meth, the electricians are doing meth, the roofers are doing meth, the framers are doing meth, because they're all piecework.
Right. But
the more houses you knock out, the more you get paid. I'm hourly.
You're hourly, but it seems like in construction, and I don't want to diverge, but it just seems like the perfect job for meth. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Your beer seems like it'd be kind of a drag to be doing construction drunk because you're just like, oh, I don't want to do this.
I'm 21. I'm an old man. I'm an old man. Like, look at these youngsters doing math on the roof. I remember those days.
These 40-year-old youngsters.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so it was a way. It was the same thing that when I did meth, I looked down on people that did crack.
Right.
Because you have to have this hierarchy to not look at how low you are in life, and so you look down at anyone. If I'm doing meth, at least I'm not a crackhead. Now I'm an alcoholic, at least I'm not a tweaker.
Right.
So I just need someone to always look down on, so I can't see how far down I am.
Yes.
Right?
Even when I got really involved, for some reason shooting up, I never shot up, right? That was the boundary.
Yeah.
That was the crossing over to the really bad side. Right. Even though things got really bad, that was like a whole nother world. You know what I mean?
So there I am, an old man.
Yeah.
Glad I'm not a tweaker. I have no idea how to be a husband, no idea how to be a father. My idea of being a father is taking a saw and cutting the corner off of every table, making sure they're sanded, making sure that my daughter's knee never gets skinned, making sure that when Christmas comes, she has $1,000 worth of presents. She can have anything she wants because she's never going to hurt.
Right, like you did.
Never. When she's 2 and we go out to Halloween, just because I'm working construction doesn't mean I don't have friends that I still have come over. When my daughter walks up to doors in her little witch costume, I have 2 friends with me, and both of them have guns. Because I'm going to tell you one thing. My kid's going to get her candy. No dog is going to bite her. Nobody's going to snag her bag.
They're done.
Look.
There better be Snickers in those.
Nothing's
Rest in peace to her boyfriend.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah. So the thing was, I thought I had it figured out. But because I couldn't be a husband, when that relationship didn't work out, And Raven's mom said, I'm leaving. And she took Raven and went from where we were living in Carmichael back to Pollock Pines. I, again, in hindsight, know what a man does, what a parent does. You don't have to be a man, just a parent. You split custody, make sure you get the time in, make sure you do your part. The relationship between the parents changed, the parenting doesn't. That's what I should have done. But that's not what I did. Because when she left and she took Raven with her, I hadn't put together the pieces that the reason I got clean was to be a dad. And when she took her, my reason was gone.
Purpose, as you said earlier.
So when she left on a Friday, by Monday, I'm back at it. Quit the job, quit paying rent, quit everything. And that led to a 3-year relapse of whatever I thought insane was at 15 and 16. No, that's the tutorial. Because at 15 and 16, there were no guns. There were no, the crimes were breaking windows or graffiti or little weird tweaker ninja stuff.
Right.
This next level, this relapse, was a friend of mine or a person I knew that was getting a lot of drugs but couldn't see across the room, knew everybody, had a lot of customers, needed somebody that could drive and make sure he could always get in and out of a room. I said, I got you, man. I got you. Had a trench coat, shotgun that broke down in 2 pieces that I slid into it, kept a little Derringer in my pocket.
Well, a Derringer?
The Derringer, the double barrel, 1 bullet in the top.
Yeah.
The bottom barrel didn't have a bullet. That was my emergency bag of dope that I kept rolled up and shoved in there to make sure always going to have a little dope. So that relapse cycle just led to another level that I hadn't been involved in before.
Right.
In and out of jail, 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 in and out of jail.
How long were you in jail? I mean, in and out over a period?
Oh, all of my time in jail maxes out at like 3 months during that era.
Okay, I see.
Most of them are first floor ground tours. Drunk tank, possession, paraphernalia. You're just going through booking, processing, holding tank, release tank, kick out. 651 I Street, just passing through. One day I'm hiding out in these apartments. I just got into it with somebody and sitting there with a friend, just waiting to make sure there's no cops coming down the street. And this girl was walking down the road. And I asked my friend, I said, hey, who was that? She's beautiful. I said, oh, that's a new girl. I said, hey, go get her. Bring her to me. Because I'm living under this persona. Right? So she goes and gets her and brings her back. We start talking. Go into her apartment. And the record skips. She gets pregnant. I get clean. She is on heroin at the time. I'm kind of just going through my head of like what to say and what not to say because my daughter is my life. And there were a lot of similarities between this girl and my mom. And I don't know how much I was aware of it at the time, but I could never save my mom. Man, if I could save this girl.
That's deep.
And so her and I, as a recovering codependent, I will tell you, alcohol, meth, bottom of the list. Codependency is my number one thing. When her and I meet, we are inseparable. Even when she's on the 3rd floor in detox, I'm sleeping in the bushes. I'm not going anywhere. I need her to know that I'm right there. We are homeless. We're sleeping in the walk-in freezers at abandoned McDonald's. We're running around with the Circle Kids, the little homeless crew in downtown Sacramento. And at one point she says, well, look, I got a friend in Washington we can go stay with. And we get on a Greyhound and end up in Washington. And her friend is living in her car. She doesn't have a house anymore. And so we're homeless in Washington. But it's time to get a job. It's time to be a dad. So I get a couple of jobs. I'm working at Goodwill. I'm working at Wendy's. And spend the next couple of years just putting it together. We moved back to Sacramento. I have a beautiful daughter named Evening Morning Star. And we got a classic Victorian we're living in downtown. Got the station wagon Volvo. My dad's working at a Volvo shop. Got a good connect on some
Hooked you up on the
Volvos.
Volvo.
My dad's collecting the old 1960s 122 model Volvos. Got a job, safe room manager, Century Theater. We're doing good. We're doing good. Clean. No meth.
Both of you?
Neither one of us are using drugs
And how did she get clean?
with help.
So she went to detox.
Yeah, we did the. This was my first experience with the methadone clinic program,
Okay.
where you got to go every day, and then you earn a take home for the weekend,
Right.
and then you work your way up to come in Monday and get 5 day, until eventually you just come in once a week, and then when you get on the methadone train, not condoning the complacency of staying at 120, 80 milligrams for 10 or 20 years, tapering until it's over.
But I mean, is that something that you taper? Because I know there's people who've been on it and they just continue on it and continue on it. I mean, is it a racket?
I think that that's a more complicated question. I think that there are programs that can run a racket, but I also have known people that have been able to get on a low dose,
Right.
and when they've gone to taper off, it's just been agonizing.
Well, I heard it's even worse. I mean, sometimes in like going through heroin withdrawals and stuff.
Yeah.
And like,
And then there's another person that can do a Suboxone taper in 30 days and never do it again. So
Right.
that the idea of it being a racket, I think it completely and totally depends on the person and the program.
Okay.
And there has to be healthy communication. Some people being on maintenance for a long time, if they're being sincere, I think that's great.
Right.
That's different than exploiting somebody that's wanting to taper and then being pushed to maintain or increase their dose.
That's what I was wondering about.
Yeah.
Because I've known some people who've done the methadone route and they basically stay at the same level. They just go there, get their dose, and that's it.
Yeah. So she did the methadone, got off, and no drugs. There's just this one thing. I drink all day, every day. But I can buy it at the store, so it's not a problem, right?
Right.
And it's not drugs.
And it's not drugs. I'm not carrying a gun.
Right.
I'm not robbing anybody. I'm not getting robbed. I'm not going to jail for drugs. Just the occasional drunk in public or disorderly if
Right.
Friday gets a little hectic, but nothing that I won't be out in 12 hours. I live 5 blocks from the jail. So when I get out of jail, I just walk from 651 I Street to 11th in between D and E.
It's very convenient. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like the bridge. You know what I mean? It just
Yeah,
worked out.
it's just right there.
Yeah.
I'm working at the movie theater. One of the kids that I hired is working security. One day we're outside smoking a cigarette, and he asked me, "Hey, man, you mess around?" I told him, "Nah, I'm good. I'm hitting my cigarette." He goes, "You want my number?" I said, "Nah, I'm good, man. I'm good." This is the era of pagers. We don't have cell phones. And I go to put my cigarette out. Let me get it, man. Let me get your number. And I take his number, fold it up, put it in my wallet. He sells meth. It's the beginning of 2003.
Oh, yeah.
And it's been how long since you've been clean?
Years.
That little devil, man.
I don't call him. 6 months later, we live in a Victorian. The people above us, long story short, this couple above us, Chris and Kirsten, they're both trying to get clean. They're lying to each other. I'm friends with both of them. So they're both using behind each other's back. So
I mean, that's,
Kirsten goes out of town. My evening's mother goes out of town, takes evening. On a Friday, they go up to Humboldt. They're going to go to a graduation.
okay.
Chris comes downstairs. He's like, "Hey, let's go to the bar." I said, "Let's go, man." Go to Hilltop, down there drinking. Couple Irish car bombs, some arrogant bastard ale. Friday night, just got paid. Chris goes, "Hey, man, let me get $20. Chris ain't working. So, all right, don't trip, man. It's got paid. I give him $20.
It's a lot of money back then.
Yeah. A couple minutes later, he comes back. He's like, "Hey, I need another 20." I was like, "Hey, what are you doing, man?" He's like, "I'm going to get some dope from the girl at the end of the bar." I look down. I was like, "All right. Not my thing.
Right.
I don't use.
Right.
I'm clean. I got a wife and a kid and a job." Him and the girl go outside. They come back. We go back to the house, go upstairs to his apartment. I'm talking to him, drinking. Opens the cupboard, takes a cereal box out, takes the cereal out, needle underneath of it. That's where he's hiding his needle from Kirsten. Kirsten's hiding her needle in the bathroom. I know where that is. They're both using, but telling each other they're not.
Wow.
So he starts making up a shot. And right before he goes to shoot it, he goes, "Hey, you want half?" And it's like time stops. Meth, alcohol, codependency. Right in between drugs and codependency, there's this other addiction I have. It's an opportunist. Time stops. The math starts playing out in my head. I haven't used in 3 years. It's Friday. She's not going to be back until Sunday night. If I do it now, I could get spun. I'm not going to keep using. Permission statement. When? This was the kicker. When am I going to get this opportunity again? As a codependent, I'm never away from her.
Right.
This is the first time we've been apart in years. She's going to be out of town for the weekend. Look what God just did to me. He gave me this wonderful opportunity.
Yeah.
I'd be a fool not to take it.
Yeah.
All right, man, I'll take half of it. He squirts half of it back in the spoon and hands it to me. Do a shot. Get spun. That's on a Friday. Monday comes, no big deal. Tuesday comes, no big deal. Wednesday comes, Thursday, I'm taking my wallet out.
And it's on.
That number's been sitting in there for 6 months. Page the dude. Hey, man, I need to get something for this weekend. Don't trip, I got you. That's in the summer of 2003. Summer of 2003 to December of 2003. the job, the Victorian house, the money, the relationship is falling apart. December 22nd, 2003, I'm so spun out. I'm in a high-speed chase. I got two guys from the neighborhood that I look up to. I don't ever get in a car if I don't drive. But I'm wanting to do a shot so bad. I tell this guy that I've looked up to, these two guys are a part of a group that I've wanted to be a part of for a long time.
Okay.
I tell him, hey man, you drive. I'm going to sit in the back and do a shot. I get in the back, my car. We're driving. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. Cop gets behind us. He tells me, hey, there's a cop behind us. I told him, don't turn. He turns right. Like, oh, cop turns. Stop turning.
Right.
He turns right. Cop turns.
Yeah.
Punches it. Here we go.
Oh, geez.
So we're going high-speed chase. And as we're going, the agreement is when the car stops, we're all going to run. We end up going down a one-way street. Car stops. I jump out of the back seat. I'm running. There's a dumpster in the corner. My idea is I'm going to jump, put my foot in that slot, get on the dumpster, and then jump over the fence. And right as I go to execute my plan, the dog hits me in the back.
The what?
The dog.
Oh, it's a
canine.
Oh, canine.
Canine
Okay.
lays me down. He's
geez.
biting my leather jacket.
Yeah.
No meat. Gets a hold of me. Starts thrashing me. Cop gun to the head. Stop resisting. Stop resisting. Get your dog off me. Get your dog off me. Hems me up. They roll me over. When they roll me over, the driver's door is open. And my big homie is sitting in the back seat.
Back seat of the car? I mean, cop car?
No, my car.
Oh, your car. Oh.
I got out and ran.
The one that was driving.
He jumped
I
out,
gotcha.
sat in the back seat.
Oh.
They got me down as the driver.
As you as the driver, right. Okay, I got it.
So December 22nd to February, beginning of February,
Yeah.
I'm sitting in the Sacramento County Jail until the dash cam footage comes in.
Right.
And when it comes in, I'm the passenger.
Right.
They call me out to court. They say, look, here's the deal. If you sign this piece of paper, you'll be released today if you agree not to sue because you weren't the driver. They shouldn't have released the canine on you. I said, give me the pen. Sign it.
Yeah, definitely.
So I walk out of jail February 2nd, 2004. Now, when I went in on the high-speed chase, my relationship wasn't in a good place. My relationship is gone when I get out. She's moved on. She's with somebody else. My biggest issue is codependency. So
And where's your daughter?
She's with her mom.
She's with her mom.
And how old is she at this point?
Oh, I take that back. When I got out of jail, she was not. She's with my grandparents.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is the beginning of 2004. She's about to turn 3.
Okay.
Yeah, so when I get out and she tells me that she's moved on.
And she was still clean at this point, right?
Her? Oh, no. When I relapsed, right after I relapsed, I hid it maybe for a week or so. And then I love Evening's mom. I understand what she was doing. She had good intentions. She tried to play a bluff card. Oh, if you're going to do it, then I'm going to do it. Which I think underneath of that was, if you love me enough, you won't do this. But I told her, okay, let's go. And so she started using. And she'd never done meth. She'd always been a heroin addict. So when I get out in February 2004, she's with somebody else. He's locked up. He's in jail. As I'm coming out of jail, he's in jail.
Oh, he's in jail. Okay.
And she's telling me she's going to be with him now. February 2nd, 2004, I tell her, I'll do anything to keep you. And so I started doing anything. Doing burglaries. Pretty soon I realized there's a lot more stuff at home when the person's home. So I started doing home invasions.